is going on, everybody? King Recon here, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with my air conditioning because we're about to talk about something hot. Hot and spicy, man. Something that we've been trying to do for the past couple of weeks. But I'm here tonight to finally record a video I have not recorded since I believe it was either in the middle or at the end of Whole Cake Island. I think it was the last time that I did a top 10 favorite characters list. I'm assuming it was somewhere around there, because it's been so long. I don't think it was during Wano. I think it was before that. I think it was a little bit after we created the second channel, which is this one. So it was somewhere around there. So we're here, man. It's been, if that's true, then it's been almost 10 years since we've done a top 10 favorite One Piece characters video. And if there's a series that's extremely difficult to rank in any capacity, I don't care if it's soundtracks or openings or characters or arcs, it's this one, man. Because I have so much love for the entire thing that it's very difficult to differentiate each and every single one because of how minuscule difference is between them. So I have tried my hardest, man. I have tried my hardest, just like I did in that list all those years ago, to put in a list of characters that not only I love as much as I do, obviously, to be in the top 10 out of the thousands of characters in the series, but that I also believe represents your boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I finished this list and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of characters I want to have on here, but I feel like this is me. This truly is me. And so, because it wouldn't be a King Recon list if I wasn't cheating, we're going to cheat. You better believe we're going to cheat. There's like 15 characters on here, but we got it down. You know what I'm saying? We got it down. And so the way I'm going to construct this list is that the numbers 1 through 5 are for Straw Hats. Not out of a design decision, that's genuinely how I feel. It was exactly the same whenever I recorded the original video. I believe my top 5 or top 6 slots went to Straw Hats. I was like, yo, same thing this time around, that has not changed. The Straw Hats are different and the order in which they're in is different, but the characters are there. You know, like, or the Straw Hats, like that being designated to the Straw Hats, that's there. You know what I'm saying? So the top 5 is for the Straw Hats. Now, numbers 6 through 10 are actually the non-Straw Hats. And like I said, not by design, that's just the way it happened to work out. And so I was like, you know what? Let's stay consistent with that. Let's do 6 through 10 non-Straw Hats, 5 to 1 Straw Hats. It works. I get to talk about characters I love from not just within the Straw Hats, but also around the One Piece world. So like, you know what? It works out perfectly. Now, like I said, I cheated. Almost every single entry from 10 to 6 has 2 characters. And it's not me trying to cheat, man. I ain't trying to cheat. It's just happening because the characters that I want to talk about, I feel like I can't talk about without bringing another character into the equation. And so because of that, I need to have the other character there because it feels like I need to be able to talk about both characters and or 3 characters to be able to properly express how much I love each and every single one of them, because the dynamic between the 3 most of the time is what makes that character so incredibly special to me, right? And so, especially within this series, the character interactions in this series is what makes it truly, truly shine for me. What's allowed it to be a favorite for all of these years. But man, I don't want to start off with honorable mentions because I feel like I'd be giving away what's not on the list, and I ain't trying to do that today because I do want to have the hint of mystery, the hint of suspense. You know what I'm saying? To see what is different, right, from the last list. I don't even remember what was on. I know what my number 1 and my number 2 was on my last list. Or number 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe. I don't remember. We're here with a new list. Recon in 2025. Who knows what Recon back in whatever thought. But we're here for this list. And I'll probably save the honorable mentions for like right before number 1. But I do want to give a shout out to number 11, the character that I wanted to include so bad. Y'all have no idea how bad I wanted to include this character, but it was just so incredibly difficult, man. My boy, the first son of the sea, number 11 is undoubtedly my dog, Jinbei, man. I feel like with every single rewatch and reread that I do of the Paramount War saga, then immediately followed by Fishman Island, and then when I think back on Whole Cake Island, when I think back to Wano, and I just remember the amount of excitement, not just surrounding seeing the character again and the awesome moments back in Whole Cake Island and just the hype of the return in Wano, but the true essence of his character there within the Paramount War saga and in Fishman Island. I just really rock with Jinbei, man. And so, like I said, because of the way the list went, I was like, man, Jinbei definitely could have been on the list. But because I split it between 5 and 5, I was like, you know what, man, if I have to leave a Straw Hat off, I'll have to leave a Straw Hat off. But y'all know how much I love Jinbei, man. That is my guy. It always will be, bro. I mean, he's a part of one of the most important scenes to me within the entire series, which is I still have my Nakama, right? And so you have to have the character, the path to the sun moment. I mean, come on, man. The big mom, what's an emperor to a pirate king? Big dog Jinbei, you know what I'm saying? So I got that's my boy. That's my boy. So I got to show love to Jinbei whenever I can, because I truly rock with him, man. That's my guy. And I'll talk about the other honorable mentions, obviously, whenever we get to that point, because there's so many characters that I love, right? There's a lot of characters that I get so excited and or emotional about whenever I see, but you can only put so many characters here. But this is the omission that hurt me the most, because like I said, I love Jinbei a lot. So that is my number 11. Now, starting off with number 10. I'm already pumped, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm already excited, bro. I'm already ready to go, man. I'm already ready to go. Starting us off at number 10 is a three-way. One of them, you're going to be like, why in the world is that character with the others? And I will explain, man. I will explain. It's a three-way tie. Coming in number 10, I've got my boy Trafalgar D. Waterlaw, Mr. Raw as Law. Tied with Don Quixote D. of Flamingo, of course, because he's him. But then, also here at number 10, as the way things go, is also my boy NL. I couldn't leave him off the list. But like I said, not by design. There is a method to my madness. So once again, number 10, Law, Mr. Raw is Law. You know, he's got to be on the list. Doflamingo, Big Dofi, and NL. Now, you're probably like, Law and Dofi, I see, that's a connection. You know what I'm saying? But what in the Flying Flanders does NL have to do with this? NL has everything to do with it. NL always has everything to do with it. All right? Anytime that I can put NL on something, he's gonna come down, striking down the lightning, riding the lightning. Like he's Metallica in 1985. He's gonna come, and he's gonna do it. All right, man. All right? And so, on a serious note, once again, there's a method to my madness. Starting off with my boy Trafalgar Law. From his first introduction back in Sabaody, and with the showcase of his ability, I was like, this is an amazingly cool dude with a super fire double fruit. I rock with him. Cut over to Marineford, one of the MVPs, rock with him. Come back in Punk Hazard, and that's when we really started cooking. Woo! Dude, one of my most memorable moments of being a fan and caught up is when he cut Punk Hazard in half. You know what I'm saying? With the new generation is here. And we're going to cause some damage. So then that is immediately followed by the masterclass that was Doflamingo and Trafalgar Law's incredible Dressrosa dynamic. One of the driving forces that made that arc so special to read on a weekly basis. One of my favorite things to discuss on a weekly basis as well when we were going through the arc. But it truly is a special thing, and of course you put Corazon into it, and it causes an even better dynamic, right? With both of their backstories, both Doflamingo's backstory and of course Law's. But I really love the way that their characters not only interacted, but the tension that came up, the way they attempted to outsmart each other, the way that the dialogue would. Just everything between these two characters was always so much fun to experience, and you always felt it. You always felt the emotional just situation between the two of them, and how much history there was there between the two characters. And just going back to their abilities, Law has one of the coolest abilities, and Doflamingo, going back to pre-time skip, was the character that I was interested in seeing what he would do the most when given more screen time. Because back in Jaya, and then of course in Marineford, he stood out so much. I was like, yo, when he gets his time to shine, it's gonna go in like crazy. So when we found out he was Joker back in Punk Hazard, I was pumped, dude. When he saw him coming in chapter, what was that, 694? When he was going into Punk Hazard, he has that moment with Aokiji, you're like, let's go. So that was already out of this world, but then you really explore his character and what makes him tick in Dressrosa, and that's his arc, man. And it just really elevated his character to levels that I didn't even think what we were going to be able to explore, right? So it was just a blast, and he continues to be an excellent character as we go around the world and see his reactions to the newspapers. Mr. Looking at the newspapers, always laughing. Hey, listen, man, to Doflamingo, who's down 6 levels under and impelled, everything's a hype moment. I feel him. I'm like him. Every chapter's goaded. That's Doflamingo. Doflamingo's like, yeah, the whole world is in chaos. Let's go. That's how I feel. Now, where does NL fall into this? Well, this is why. Told you there was a method in my madness. NL and Doflamingo are very similar in my heart. Not in terms of their personality, but in terms of what they represent when I think about the characters that are placed within arcs that sort of represent One Piece as a whole, and the overall painting that is attempted to be put together by Ichiro Oda to represent exactly what the series is all about. And I think when I look at the biggest overall picture, Luffy versus Instant Messenger-sama, Joy Boy and Emu, the mural, and all of that, the two characters and the two arcs at the forefront that I can't stop thinking about is Skypiea and Dressrosa, especially with recent events, right? And so when we had to topple NL, supposed god of Skypiea, the way that character was showcased within that arc, the way that Doflamingo was presented within that arc, and the way that they were both brought down, and just the celestial and godly, so to speak, elements of that, is why I can't stop disassociating the two. Even though I know Doflamingo and Crocodile are the ones that get compared the most in regards to Alabasta and Dressrosa's, parallels and connections. For me, it's especially lately, it's really NL and Doflamingo that remind me the most about each other, and it's not even just in regards to the thematic stuff with the, like I said, the godly stuff and the Instant Messenger Sama encapsulation of what the final battle is potentially going to be, right? With Luffy and Emu. It's also a really cool. It's every time I see Doflamingo, I'm like, I can't wait to see him again, and I can't wait to see NL because I haven't seen him in like 500 chapters. So it's like two characters I can't wait to see again, and two characters that when they were getting their screen time absolutely rocked it with charisma, with passion. They were doing their thing, man, and I was drawn in. Obviously, in two arcs I absolutely adore, but they always commanded the screen. They were always doing their thing. They have super cool abilities. They're just great villains, man. I mean, I can't want any more, especially when you bring in the thematic content. It's like, let's fucking go, bro. I dig this. I love it. I want it. And so those are the three at number 10. Once again, Trafalgar Law, my guy, man. He's got to be on the list. Room Shambles. He's him, man. He's him. And so Had to give a lot of love to these three once again because NL and Doflamingo remind me so much of each other. And I can't have Law on the list without Doflamingo because truly the reason why I love Law as much as I do is because of the dynamic with Doflamingo and vice versa as well, right? Like, even though I've always found Dofi to be an interesting character, it really was exploring that dynamic throughout Dressrosa that truly just elevated him to being an all-time character for me. And so those three come in tied at number 10. Shout out to the boys. Now we go into number 9. And listen, man, this was tough, dude. I was like, yo, I know they're going to be in the list, but I don't know where I'm going to put them. It's another 3-way tie, man. And listen, this one at the very least is might feel more connected to the overall audience watching this. But y'all already knew these 3 characters were going to be in the list. If you know me, if you have known me for any period of time, you knew these 3 characters were going to be in the list, man. They just had to be, brother. They had to be. Momonosuke, Yamato, and Yakuju no Kaido. Are you kidding me? The representation of my favorite arc in Wano through the 3? It had to be done. It had to be done. I knew Momonosuke was in this list. There was no way I was going to leave Momo off the list. But the more I kept thinking about Yamato and Kaido, I was like, I can't leave them off either. I can't leave them off either, man. So let me go one by one, because this one, even though all 3 of them are connected in a swell, right, a tornado of what makes Wano so special to me. But I want to talk about them individually here. Momonosuke, following his journey from Punk Hazard all the way to Wano, is such a special experience because you get to see how much he changes from arc to arc. Through, of course, his own decisions, his own actions, but it's thanks to the influence of the Straw Hats. And you get to see how someone would be like as a cabin boy on the crew that is being inspired by Luffy, the same way that like Shanks was being inspired by Roger, the same way Luffy was being inspired by Shanks. You get to see that with Momonosuke, but Momonosuke is the general of a country. He's the Shogun Kaido! Shout out to Gintama. But he is the Shogun, bro, and so there's a lot of responsibility on that boy's shoulders and everything that he went through with his pops and having to be teleported all those years into the future. And so for him to have to overcome what any child's cowardice would be like, to finally see the dawn of the new day at the end, man, is one of the most beautiful character arcs in the series. And the more that we went through it, I mean, when I think back to chapters 1043, which was the incredible Yamato speech to Momonosuke as he's trying to hold up the thingy, Onigashima, and then the great moment in episode 1074, I don't remember what chapter that was, like 1047, whatever it was, whenever Momonosuke is actually managing to hold up the island, to then the legendary moment in 1051, whenever Momonosuke has the Shogun procession moment, and you're like, oh my gosh, adult Momo, bro, it looks so fire, man. It was just a journey that it felt so personal because of how long we were with him. And because of the length of One Piece, whether you were following it weekly or you were binging it, you felt it, man. I mean, that's Punk Hazard. That's just if you're watching the anime. Punk Hazard starts at like episode 580 something, and all the way up till Wano ends in like episode 1088 or something like that. So that's a lot of episodes, man, where you're spending with Momonosuke. And then you amplify that by the amount of years you've been with a dude, and it's like, man, it feels like family. And so I love Momonosuke. I felt like a member of the Straw Hats, right? Similar to Vivi back in Baroque Works, but because I lived through this one on a week-to-week basis, it was just really, really personal. And then seeing the end of it, man, it was like, God, my boy Momonosuke. And anytime I see him after that, it's like, oh, my guy. So that's Momonosuke. Yamato, from the very first introduction, was a character that I was like, I love what we're exploring here with the concepts of freedom, the twist on the classic Disney princess thing that Oda's gone through with multiple different characters within this series. But I think the Yamato one was so personal to me because, especially when you bring in the episode 1015 segment, with Yamato being directly inspired by Luffy through Ace's words. You know, Yamato looks up to these legendary characters as an individual who's unable to go out and go out on her own adventure. And so that was extremely personal for me because I felt that I went through that too. I'm sure a lot of us have gone through that. Being inspired by our heroes. Being inspired by individuals that, though we've never interacted with, we were inspired by them. We wanted to be like them. Yamato takes it to the next level with the I want to be Odin thing. But that moment with Luffy and the I wanna be, and Roger as well, just really opened my eyes to Yamato being a representation to what I would be like within the One Piece series, which is someone who has been personally impacted by these characters. Similar to what happened in the One Piece fan letter. That's like Yamato's entire character. And so in real time, we were able to see someone who was directly affected negatively by the events of our failures. You know, Yamato went through losing Ace due to not necessarily Luffy's failure, because Luffy saved Ace, right? It was, of course, the circumstances with Ace and Akainu. But Yamato felt that pain the same way we did. Honestly, on very similar levels, considering that for her, that was her only friend. So she lost her only friend, still in captivity, and decided to hold on to hope because of Ace's words. Because words are powerful. Whether the person dies or they continue to live on. The same way Hidalgo spoke all those chapters ago. A man dies only when he's forgotten. And when those words are able to carry on for a prolonged period of time, we see how it impacted both Luffy and Yamato. And so when both of them came together within the arc, it not only caused for an incredibly fun dynamic between the two, but you got to see someone who was side by side, an individual that she heard about for so long. Similar to, or I should say, the same way she kind of looked up to Odin, but never had an opportunity to be with Odin. Never had an opportunity to be with Whitebeard or Roger. This was the other living legend. She was able to see that in full display. And I absolutely adored that aspect of Yamato's character. And then you add on the concept of the child of Kaido with the super cool abilities and a super cool design. And it's like, all right, I rock with this character. But it really was that episode 1015 section, as well as the chapter 1043 stuff, that truly made me be like, man, like I really rock with Yamato as a representation of freedom there through the lives of other individuals, right? Freedom through literature, freedom through fiction. Fiction that later, of course, becomes reality because this is a fictional story. But it's a little representation of a character who is inspired by words, language, and stories. And so because of that, it personally impacted me, and I see a lot of myself within Yamato. And we could go more in depth into that, but I absolutely adore Yamato's character. And then Kaido, man, listen. If there was any character for 4 years, there's only one character I wanted to see more than Kaido, and that was Luffy on a weekly basis. Dude, from the moment that he fell out of the sky in 795, I still miss. That's one of the videos that sucks was lost to the old channel, right? Because man, what a time that was. But from the moment he was introduced in one of the greatest character introductions in the series, until we got to see how he actually was in Wano, seeing not only his character explored, but his personality, his dynamics with his crewmates, his dynamics with our characters, his dynamics with the individuals of legend, you know, seeing how he interacted with Odin, how he interacted with Big Mom, how he interacted with Whitebeard, of course, being a part of Rox's crew. But it was that just full-blown shonen jump energy that he was exuding, bro. It was that it's lack of a better term, that flipping aura, that it's Kaido, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I mean, the brother's a dragon, man. I can't help it. You know, man. I love Kaido, bro. Like, every single time that I saw him, I was legitimately afraid for our crew, bro. Back with the original dragon reveal, and then when you see his man beast form, and you see what he's putting in, how he's putting in work on the roof, he defeated the main character like 4 times. I mean, bro, Kaido was a menace, man. From chapter 992 all the way until chapter 1049, he just kept boxing. He boxed the Scabbards, he boxed the Worst Generation, he boxed Yamato, he boxed Luffy again, then he boxed Luffy again, and it was like, bro, the man just keeps boxing. And it's like, then you add in the potential Joy Boy parallels, and then you add in what it means to be the strongest, and it's like, oh, I love Kaido, man. I love Kaido, bro. And it's that mix, and it's the interactions of tornado of these 3 characters, of the Kaido and Yamato and Momonosuke, and all of their individual relationships with Luffy, the interaction between all 3 with Odin, with the Scabbards, and all the direct connection to Wano is one of the reasons why I love that arc as much as I do. And so I feel like that arc needed to be represented on my list in order to properly represent the characters. And when I thought about this entry, I was like, these 3 have to be in there. They have to be in there, man. All love to Kinemon as well. That's another character I really love. But these 3 truly represent my love for Wano, as well as just my love for One Piece in general, man. Like, come on. Momo, Yamato, Kaido. Rock with them. I rock with them. But seriously, Kaido, dog. Like, dude, every time I saw him in panel time, I was like, yo, Kaido! And if I ever see him again, I'm gonna do the same thing. Kaido! Anyways, number 8. Number 8, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this was tough because I knew 10 and 9 would be this. But 8, 7, and 6, I knew the characters. I already knew the characters that were going to be in this particular thing. I just didn't know the order that I wanted to put them in. And so I ended up with this order, but it is definitely subject to change. These 3 especially are subject to change depending on the day. This is just how I'm feeling right now. So coming in number 8, we've got, of course, another 2-way tie. But this one definitely makes more sense than maybe the number 10 entry in regards to 2 characters that are, even though they're not directly connected, they follow the same umbrella, in my heart at least. And that, of course, my number 8 being my boy Whitebeard and Bartholomew Kuma. The 2 fathers. The 2 goat dads in One Piece, man. I don't know where to begin, dude. You've got Fatherbeard, who, for the amount of times I've rewatched Marineford, I just, the chills that I get when with the family stuff and Squard and hey so, and it's like, bro, he's a man with one of the most epic deaths of all time. The flippin' goat, man, is Whitebeard. I am Whitebeard. Come on, man. Come on. It's like, bro, all he wanted was a family, man, and he became the strongest. My guy was out here doing his thing. And all he wanted was a family. He could have had the One Piece a long time ago. But that's not what he wanted. What he wanted was Marco. What he wanted was Ace. What he wanted was Vista. And the rest of the Whitebeard pirates, because he valued them more than anything. They were his treasure. They were his treasure. And that's why at the end of it all, it was them that he wanted to protect above all else. That's why when Ace died, it hit him as hard as it did. Because he lost one of his sons. And so when he had to go out at the hands of another one of his foolish sons and Blackbeard, it's a really emotional thing. But he never wavered, and he never ran away. And I have so much respect for him for that, man. And in all the years that he was a pirate, not a single scratch was on his back. If that's not a man, I don't know what is, bro. My guy. Whitebeard, bro. And it's just, what a wonderful, wonderful character. And a great showcase of how much Oda can do in 30 chapters. Because when you really think about it, Marineford lasted from chapter 459 to 489. That was 30 chapters, man. And he perfectly characterized Whitebeard, who of course we'd met before, but only through certain sequences, right? We hadn't seen him for a prolonged period of time. But he gave him his own arc. Or with Ace and with all the other crazy characters that were Marineford. But it really was a Whitebeard-centered arc. And you come out of that arc being like, man, Whitebeard was a true G. Whitebeard was that guy. And really impressive to do in 30 chapters, man. Especially with everything that was going on and the chaos of Marineford. It's one of the reasons why that arc is as special as it is. So shout out to Whitebeard. Legendary father. Legendary father. But then on the other side of things, you've got Kuma, man. And just like Whitebeard gets better with time, whenever we get to see like his interactions with Odin and see the stuff with rocks and all that, Kuma is a character that gets better with every single time they show him. And his dynamic with Bonnie, huge love and honorable mention to Bonnie obviously as well, just takes him to the next stratosphere. Kuma has my favorite flashback in the series. The one that gets me the most emotional for sure. So much so, it's tough even looking at the Pacifista now without getting emotional. Like that's how hard the Kuma flashback hit me. But even before the flashback, and even before the recontextualization, just having that concept as a character, an individual who was a warlord going around with that pawpaw fruit while also carrying around a Bible, was just such a strange thing in a series filled with strange characters. And then he immediately upon arrival, even though he was introduced back in Jaya, but in his true first arrival as a secret final boss in Thriller Bark, comes in and is a catalyst for one of the most iconic moments in the series when nothing happened. And then he's a catalyst for another of the iconic moments in the series with the separation of the Straw Hats. And the fact that both of those moments get recontextualized and elevated thanks to his flashback in 1102, because of how goated of a pops he is, because he is the number one pops. Kuma suffered so much, man. I wish I could take some of his suffering and bring it on myself. That's how much that character has suffered. And so seeing him actually see the beacon of hope and be a part of saving the beacon of hope in a moment that when you're first going through it, you are desperate. You don't know what's going on. You're losing the Straw Hats. You're losing these characters that you love so much. But to Kuma, he was preserving the future. To Kuma, when we look back at the end of the series, when One Piece ends, the MVP of the series is Kuma saving the Straw Hats before they got killed. Because it's thanks to him that the legendary figure he looked up to for so long and could not wait to see would bring down the madman up top, man. And so to see Kuma come back at them and have a go run at St. Garcia Saturn, not for his own sake, but because he messed with Bonnie and he messed with the situation at hand. So he was like, you ain't gonna do that no more. Whether I'm conscious or unconscious, you're catching the hands. And delivers one of the most satisfying punches in the series to St. Garcia Saturn. Oh man, when that gets animated, brother, it's gonna be peak fiction. But Bartholomew Kuma, with everything that we find out about this character, and the more we find out about this character, from concept to power to design to execution of all those ideas, and then the dynamic between him and Bonnie, just makes him one of my favorite characters in the series. And like I said, in the drop of a dime, you could easily go higher in this list or lower depending on the day. But I truly love this character, and he's definitely the character that gets me probably emotional the most. out of like the non-Straw Hat characters whenever I think about what they've gone through. Just what a powerful, powerful, powerful backstory. And like I said, 1102 is one of my favorite chapters in the series. That's a top 10 chapter easily for me. Easily. Elevates, bro, it elevates Thriller Bark and Sabaody. It elevates Nothing Happened. Super, super iconic moment. And the separation of the Straw Hats. To the point where now when I go back and rewatch or reread those moments, it's forever changed. Kuma! Kuma, man, that's my guy. That's my guy. And so, I have so much love for Kuma. And like I said, the man suffered so much for such a kind individual. But even in the midst of that suffering, he always found a light at the end of the tunnel. That light was Bonnie. That light was his friends in the Revs. That light was the future. That light was Monkey D. And I love that. I love everything that Kuma represents. Like Jay likes to call it, as men of faith, as I proclaim here as well, and as well as an individual who hopes to one day be a fourth of a father that Kuma is. He truly is a beacon of inspiration of how one should live their lives, even in the midst of such suffering. And so he's such an incredible character in story and out of the story. With a very personal connection for me. And I just love Kuma, man. What an amazing pops, bro. I mean, just look at the new opening and the new ending. That's all you need to know for Kuma. And so my number 8 is going to go to the two legendary fathers in the series. Father Beard and Whitebeard and Bartholomew Kuma, man. Those are two characters that I absolutely adore. And any time that we see them from this point forward, for Whitebeard I just get endless excitement, and for Kuma it hits the heartstrings, man. It hits the heartstrings. And so all love to those two characters. These next two were tough because they couldn't be more different. But the value was equal. I truly, truly love these next two entries, man. Like I really love what we talked about so far. But these next two are really personal, man. Like, they're really special. Man, here we go, dude. Listen, man. My number 7 should be of no surprise to anyone. Anyone who's followed me for a prolonged period of time. When you think of non-Straw Hat characters that I love, that are extremely Recon core, this is one of probably the first few characters that probably pop in mind for you, and almost certainly is the case for me. But this character also means more to me than that. Because it was thanks to this character's introduction, execution, and follow through on a weekly basis that I was actually able to not only rekindle a flame that was already there, but a flame that burned harder than ever. To the point where there was a few, you guys remember, there was a while when Gintama was at its peak, where I actually had Gintama higher than One Piece. From during that Final Four stretch in Gintama. It was hitting, man. It was hitting. And this character was the one that put One Piece back on top, to the point where it hasn't been dethroned since. The character I'm referring to, coming in number 7, is Charlotte Pudding, bro. Because how could it not be? How could it not be by herself in this entry? The only non-Straw Hat with her own entry, as she should be. As she should be, man. I almost put her with Katakuri. But I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to spend the whole time talking about Pudding anyway, so I don't want to disrespect Katakuri. Y'all know how much I love Katakuri. But I want to talk about Pudding here, man. I want to talk about Pudding because I get asked all the time, Recon, why do you love Pudding as much as you do? Like, I get she's a fine character and all, in regards to the concept of Whole Cake Island and the representation of multiple different elements there, what makes that arc work as well as it does. But I still don't understand why you rock with this character as hard as you do. Let me tell you, man. I love cartoons. I love cartoons. And I love comics. I love manga. And I really love when characters represent the medium that they're in. I love characters like Solid Snake that are able to take the medium of video games. Characters like Cloud Strife. You know, characters that are able to take the medium that they're in and really represent what that, not only the medium is all about, but what the story's all about as well. And what makes it tick. While at the same time having those quirks that are exclusive to that medium. And in the medium of comics, in the medium of cartoons, there are characters, of course, like the Gear 5 shenanigans that are exclusive to it that make it extremely fun and enjoyable. But then there's also characters like Pudding. And Pudding represents the dastardly, super fun, yet super goofy, villainous character that you just can't wait to see what she does next. And what you instead get with this character is a rise to villainy heel turn, to put in a wrestling reference, which led to a hashtag Believe in Pudding campaign that then led into the most entertaining on-screen presence in this entire arc, which is heel Pudding with extreme face antics that can't stop being hilarious because she is a pure, unadulterated cartoon character. And I love that so much about her. Because what we have with Pudding here is a character that when you're first introduced to in Whole Cake Island, you're like, okay, something's off. You know, the One Piece radar is going off, the thing is going bing, 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 bing. This character is probably up to no good in the background, or something's being cooked up. Like, it's a beep, 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 but it's subtle. It's subtle. It's in the background, right? It's subtle. Heel turn comes. Like, oh, that's what it is. You're like, sweet mother of Flagnars. Why is she doing my boy Sanji like this? But then you start seeing the cracks. You start seeing the cracks within her character. You start seeing the cracks in the mask. You start seeing the cracks in her relationship and dynamic with her family. You start seeing the cracks in the way that she interacts with Sanji, the way she interacts with Big Mom, the way she interacts with her siblings. And you see cracks and cracks and cracks until you get to the wedding sequence and she goes full loony cartoony. And then you go from loony cartoony into full-blown sitcom loony cartoony from that point forward, with the Pudding and Sanji interactions on a weekly basis. And I say all of this because, coming at this from a writing standpoint, I absolutely adore, and I mean adore, characters that, like Ace Attorney characters, for example. If you ever played Ace Attorney characters, they're all cartoon characters. And that's what makes it so much fun. Because you know what to expect when this character gets into a certain situation. They're always going to deliver their catchphrases, their lines, and or go about it in a way to where you can expect, but because you have those expectations, it's like whenever you're watching cartoons as a kid, and you're like, oh, I know what he's going to do here. And it adds that level of immersion where you just can't stop engaging with the entertainment because you feel like you're truly immersed and engaged with these characters that you know so well. Pudding is that to me. Pudding is like an Ace Attorney character. Pudding is a full-blown cartoon character that truly represents why I love cartoons and comics and anime manga. Pudding is Thomas the Tank Engine. Pudding is Bug's Life. Pudding is Toy Story. Pudding is Ed, Edd n Eddy. Pudding is Courage the Cowardly Dog. Pudding is Pudding. And so, this character, for the 2 years we were in Whole Cake Island, single-handedly like I said, I don't want to say rekindled because my flame for One Piece never went away. But it made it burn so hot that it's still burning that hot today. Because it took full advantage of what Ichiro Oda loves more than anything else. And Ichiro Oda loves cartoon shenanigans more than anything else. Because cartoon shenanigans is why we love the Straw Hats. Cartoon shenanigans is why we love these characters. And no one, besides Gear 5 Luffy, represents cartoon, super villainy, ridiculous, professional wrestling nonsense more than Charlotte Pudding. Not only is she a fantastic character from a thematic standpoint that we could talk about, that we talk here all day about the prevalence with being a sister and a twist of the Disney princess thing and Whole Cake Island and how the dynamic with Sanji, the dynamic with the rest of the crew, the dynamic with their siblings, the dynamic with Big Mom. We talk about all that all day. But that's not what interests me about Pudding. What interests me about Pudding is that from page to page and from panel to panel, she is a 110% member of Mystery Inc. She is a Scooby-Doo character. And I love that so much about Charlotte Pudding. That's all we need. That's all I need. That is all I need, man. And so it's a very personal thing. I know not everybody's gonna rock with it. I don't care if everybody rocks with it. Because for my taste and what I love in my comics, in my cartoons, in my anime, this character has got it. This character has got it. Extremely predictable and unpredictable at the same time. Because the only way you can achieve true unpredictability is when you've created a system of predictability that then can be twisted to bring in unpredictability. And that is Charlotte Pudding. And I flipping love her character. And the more, hopefully down the line, whenever we see whatever's going to happen with Pudding now that she's taken in my Blackbeard, whatever happens there, I will look forward to it. But even if something never happens again with Charlotte Pudding to the scale in which it was on Whole Cake Island, I got what I needed. And what I needed at that point in time was a character that reminded me why I love One Piece. Why I love this series. And the reason why I love this series, we will talk about that the closer we get to the Straw Hats. But it comes back down to the sitcom character quirk shenanigans that I love so much about many of those cartoons I watched as a kid. And Charlotte Pudding represents that to the highest degree. You put her in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Blade is dead. Blade will mix right into the background like one of those memes. That's Charlotte Pudding. That is my soliloquy for today. I flippin' love Charlotte Pudding, man. She is a cartoon character, and that's why we love her. That's Charlotte Pudding here at number 7. Number 6. I don't know why I put on glasses. Number 6. Y'all knew where this is coming. My favorite non-Straw Hat characters. There's 2 of them. There's only ever been 2 of them. Only ever will be 2 of them. The 2 characters that I say anytime that we see them, it's a 50 out of 10 chapter. Excuse me, the 2 characters. And anytime we get to hear any semblance of interaction between the 2, any semblance of potential interaction between the 2, any semblance of theory crafting around these 2 characters, any semblance of potential parallels between these 2 characters, anything. When we go around the world and we hear either say ah 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 or Akagami, I am here today to tell you that one of the main reasons why I rock with this series as heavily as I do is because of the existence of my number 6, which is Shanks and Blackbeard. Because I can't talk about one without the other, man. The weekly One Piece experience, even though they were not present from chapters 500 and, I want to say like, I'm just going to say after the time skip. From 598 until chapter 903, we didn't see either of these characters. We heard about stuff that Blackbeard did. We heard about stuff that Shanks did. We even saw Shanks in a cover page. But we did not see either of them until chapter 903. And yet, they represent the weekly One Piece experience. Why? do they represent the weekly One Piece experience? Because the weekly One Piece experience is encapsulated and captured by moments of flipping hype, man. By moments of hype, by moments of theory crafting, by moments of brain mushing, tongue twisting madness. And now no characters represent that more than the around the world merchants themselves. Blackbeard and Shanks, the final saga GOATs, the final saga MVP so far. My goodness, man. I don't know if y'all hearing me, bro. Shanks! And Blackbeard. There's no character in any story, that when I think I'm gonna see them, I jump up more than Shanks. That's just the character. That's just... that is hype of the character. I can't wait to see Shanks. I can't wait to see him. At any given moment, at any given time. Not only does this character represent One Piece as a character, both of them. If One Piece was a coin, one side is Shanks, the other one's Blackbeard. That's just the way it is. They both represent piracy in different ways. And I love seeing both characters. Because one of them has his own sense of code, that samurai Yoshida Shoyo, one's way of living code in Shanks, and the other one has it in Blackbeard, and they have very different ways of looking about it, but they're both very piratey. They are the most piratey pirates in this pirate manga, alright? They remind me it's pirate manga. When stuff gets a little silly and crazy, they're the ones that bring it back down to being a pirate manga, man. And so these two pirates are gonna keep pirating in this pirate manga. Wonder how many times I can say that. But Shanks and Blackbeard are both very special to me. Shanks, like I said, represents a weekly One Piece experience, and anytime that we get to see these characters, it's always something crazy, man. You think back to 903, 907, 925, 957 with the ultimate and the bounty reveals. Then you get to see, you know, stuff like whenever Blackbeard started pulling up on Law, and it started going crazy there when we had the Blackbeard Naokiji stuff, when we had a Shanks versus Kid, and then the recently the Shanks and Ben Beckman with and Yasop with Bartolomeo, and it's just, that's just on the chapter to chapter, week by week. I can't wait to see these characters again from a hype standpoint. Then you dig into characters like Blackbeard, who have so much potential for all-time great characters in the future of the series, as my favorite character introduction still, and People's Dreams Never End, as just the epitome of what I love for my characters, because I grew up a Final Fantasy VII fan, and of course Sephiroth being influenced by Jaws. Blackbeard was introduced the same way, right? You hear of this character, you hear of what they've done, you hear of the craziness, you hear the build-up, and you finally see the character surpasses all expectations with Blackbeard. That was Sephiroth, and that is also Blackbeard, right? It's the Jaws formula. And so when you get the People's Dreams Never End scene, that forever solidified Blackbeard's going to be a very special character, because he's going to represent the other side of the coin to Luffy and Shanks, the other side of dreams, the other side of things going according to plan, whereas Luffy and Shanks have their own code. Blackbeard is willing to do anything means necessary in order to achieve his goals, right? So he's a very interesting character, the ultimate opportunist. And so when you see what he does there, when you see the words that he says, like back in Impel Down to Luffy, well, yeah, Sky Island did exist, huh? And it always causes for super cool interaction between the two characters, because you know he means it, man. He means every line of dialogue. But then you also see whenever he pulls up on Whitebeard, and you see these cowardly antics. And when you see Shanks pulls up, he's like, wait, we're not ready to fight you guys yet. He's smart, right? He's not going to fight anyone that he knows he's not going to beat at that point in time. Which is why we know when Shanks and Blackbeard inevitably end up meeting again, it's like, yo, Blackbeard's he's going to be ready this time. And it's going to be like, man, what in the world's going to happen? There's that aura of mystery, right? But these two characters, they have their fate and destiny forever intertwined with each other. And it's just, these are the two characters I can't wait to see the most whenever we go around the world. Obviously together, but also separately. They represent so much about what makes this series special to me, from the, you know, the thematic elements that make One Piece so special to me, the week-to-week hype moments that make One Piece so special to me, and overall just what makes a pirate aspect of it as well. And both of their dynamics with Luffy are so incredibly special, and they will only continue to get more and more special. That I can't wait to see how we look back on the full story of One Piece when it's all said and done. Since, we were just talking about Kuma and how his flashback recontextualized everything. When we get the full picture of Shanks and the full picture of Blackbeard with all these hints that we've gotten towards both of their characters' full stories, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when we look back on just how much these two characters influenced everything that we've seen and everything that we will see in the future. And so I love these two characters a lot. And that's why they're here at number 6. And they are my favorite non-Straw Hat characters. But y'all know what that means. It's time to go to the Straw Hats, baby. We've made it to the top 5, man. Luffy, bounty poster, top 5. Chicken wing, ring-a-ding, lolla-bing, Lakers in 5. You know what I'm saying? We've made it to the top 5. I knew who the 5 characters were going to be. Ranking them was an entirely different story. Because ranking Straw Hats, that's when it gets tough, man. That's when it gets really tough. Because these characters are like family. These are characters that are straight up comfort characters, man. I don't care whether they're in a video game, they're live action versions, they're movie versions, filler versions, manga versions, anime versions, I don't care. Theatrical play versions, novelized versions. These are my characters right here. This is my cast. This is my familia. And so I'm going to try my best to rank my top 5 favorite One Piece characters here. Starting us off at number 5 is a character that just recently had an absolutely just heart-stopping, starstring pulling, extremely emotional moment. One that I haven't been able to stop thinking about since it happened, but it also put into perspective one of the most beautiful and powerful messages within this series. One that reached me at the time in which I needed it most, and an advocate for what I believe stories like this are capable of doing. And at number 5, I have Nico Robin. And her story, Volume 41. I would not be who I am today if it was not for what's in this volume. As a person, and in terms of my career path. Because I ultimately decided my career path because I wanted to make others feel what this right here made me feel. And what this right here made me feel was that stories are capable of doing something like this. Stories are capable of hitting on this type of level in regards to truly making you analyze the current state of your existence. Reflection. How are you doing at this point in time and where you are? And if you're going through something really, really rough at the time, then what greater message is there than it's darkest before dawn? And in that one day you will meet individuals. One day you will see the things that you were meant to see on this life. One day you will meet the people that will love you for who you are. And one day you will see the dawn of a new day. And that's Nico Robin's story, man. Somebody who went through so much pain, so much hardship, but came out of it on the other side smiling, with a brand new family that's willing to do anything for her. Anytime we touch into that aspect, it always gets me extremely emotional. But when you bring it back like Elbaf did, into the core of that entire message, the core of what makes that so special, it hits extremely hard, man, especially with what I was going through that week. And so I already had a lot of love for Robin's character. But now you bring circumstances outside of my control, outside of Oda's control, outside of everyone's control, only in God's control. Of what I was going through in that particular week when that Robin and Saul chapter dropped. And then it truly reminded me the importance of receiving a message like this. And why storytellers need to exist. Why individuals that create these things that can break barriers, break boundaries. From generation to generation, from person to person, from different part of the planet to different part of the planet. Her story represents that, man. And on top of the super cool ability and the awesome character introduction, I mean, I will never forget the Miss All Sunday character introduction, boy. When she popped up, I was like, who in the world is this? I mean, yo, guns out, ready to pop. I was like, hold up. She's a threat. Find out who she is, like, hold on, man. The whole time, we're like, yo, Vivi's gonna join the crew. Vivi's gonna join the crew. Vivi's gonna join the crew. And what does Ichiro Oda say? Nah, man. Miss All Sunday's joining the crew. Nico Robin's joining the crew. And it's just like from then on, you are treated to one of the craziest, just marvelous stretches, bro. Where multiple different character arcs intertwine into something truly magical and special. But hers the very forefront of it. But like I said, in the midst of all of that, at the core of what makes Nico Robin such a special character is, of course, what's the formula for any cool character, right? An awesome design, great concept, super cool abilities, and just a great overall execution of all those things. But then you added in the personal thing that I'm sure many different people can resonate with. I know I most certainly can. And that just creates the formula for an all-time character. But I think in Robin's case, because she's a Straw Hat, and being at the central core of an arc that's just placed at the perfect time in the series in Water 7 and his lobby, right? When we've had so much time to spend with the characters, and when we think everything's about to be lost, and all we have at the end is to gain, even though, of course, we lose the Going Merry. We gain back 2 Straw Hat members with brand new relationships within the crew, and further strengthening those relationships as well. But also a new member in Frankie. But at the core of that was a very strong and powerful message about fighting for not only just what one believes in, but against everything and all odds, against the darkest of days. Just do all of that just for the purposes of one single individual in Robin. And the willingness to, in the midst of all of that, in the midst of so much that she tried to do to save the Straw Hats, to ensure they wouldn't have to go through any of that. Once she realized the lengths that they were willing to go for her, and she was like, F it, baby, I'm coming home. I'm going home. Tadaima. I want to live. Ikite. Moment is so powerful because you know how much she tried to do for them. But when she saw what they were willing to do, she said, I don't care anymore. Bring me home. Bring me home. And then when we bring that full circle with the recent chapters, oh, man. Gets choked up just talking about it, bro. You know, like, Robin, man. Love her character. Love her character. Like I said, from introduction, from the jump, until now, man. Sensational character. Dead is she. So Robin's my number 5. Got so much love for her, and can't wait to see, obviously, then, like, the Black Maria fight, and the demonic fluid form, and it's like, bro, then the moment with her and Sanji and Wano as well. Robin, man, what a great character. So she's there at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I got my boy. You know, the other day, I was playing Marvel Rivals with my friends, and we got into a lobby with somebody named Vinsmoke. And one of my boys was put in chat, he was like, you gotta be worthy of that name, dog. Because that name's attached to someone special. That name's attached to a special one. That name's attached to one of the wings. That name's attached to El Príncipe. That name's attached to my dog. Coming in number 4, man. The black leg. El Príncipe. Vinsmoke Sanji himself, man. I know I talked about this in the original video because I was still working there at the time. But when I first graduated from high school, first 2 things I did was grab a camera to start recording One Piece videos. Because I really wanted to talk about what was happening at the time in the series. And of course, that's when I started the YouTube channel back in 2013. But I also started working in a restaurant. Not because of Sanji, but because I needed a job. And slowly but surely, I truly came to understand specifically what made Baratie work and what allows that arc to be so special. There was a point in time, especially towards the latter end of my time there, where I had to make a decision. I didn't have to make it ultimately at the end because the place closed down. But I was working at that restaurant for 6 years, man. Those people were like family to me. And so I remember especially towards the end, when I had a couple opportunities and I had to think about whether I wanted to leave or not. One of the things I kept thinking back to really was Sanji. And the fact that he was placed in a very similar situation, loving his family in that restaurant, loving Zeph, loving the rest of the cooks and the chefs, and everyone that he's come to know and love. But ultimately having to make a decision, no matter how hard it may be, to leave them in order to go out with the Straw Hats and chase after his dream, which was the All Blue. And I really resonated with that. I resonated with that then, and I resonate even more with it now, looking back on it. And so when we cut back over to the next section in his character journey, obviously he goes through so much from that point up until Whole Cake Island. But once you get into Whole Cake Island, you get to see the decisions that are placed at the helm once again for him. And for him to decide to come back home, even for everything that's at stake, even with everything that could potentially go wrong. It's like, nah, I want to go back with them once more to make that extremely difficult decision, this time with his actual family. He's got his work family the first time around, and now he's got to defy his actual family. That's personal, man. And so when you see what he has to go through there within that arc, to ultimately come out of that arc a better individual, so how can I not love this character, man? Then you see the repercussions of that in Wano with chapter 1031. And he has to directly face off against his past in chapter 1034 with Queen. And it's like, man, coming face to face with the potential monster brewing inside. And his individuality. So here you have a character that I resonate with so personally, has so much of the brilliant, not just character complexities, but exploration of certain concepts and ideas that make this series super cool to experience. Such a fantastic character. And then on the other side, you've got Mr. Prince, baby. And I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. Mr. Prince in Alabasta, that stretch of chapters. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started, man. Yo, that's not even the best Mr. Prince, man. Then you cut over to Water 7, and you got orange and black suit Sanji. And when everyone is gone, he's out on a Solid Snake mission by himself. Oh, Sea Train Sanji. Oh, it's Da Vinci. It's beautiful, man. It's the Mona Lisa. You know what it is, Sanji on the Sea Train, brother. Oh my God, man. It's beautiful. It's flipping beautiful, bro. But then we cut over and we get Zoe, because I remember whenever we were going through Zoe, and that's one of the reasons why when I started this channel, I was so grateful that when my first channel got taken out in the middle of Zoe, that I was able to at the very least retain or whenever I started this channel, that I was able to react during that particular stretch. Because that was a Sanji stretch. We really didn't know what in the flying flat was going on with Sanji. And one of the big things that was huge, obviously, for those of y'all who were back there at the time, for the Sanji stuff was the theories, right, surrounding his character and surrounding the potential future implications with the foreshadowing of him potentially being a member of royalty and going back to Jaya and seeing what they were going to cook there. And so when we finally started exploring that stuff with the Dead or Alive thing with chapter 801, still one of my favorite chapter reading reaction streams. We were up until like 6 a.m. that day, just discussing a whole bunch of stuff in streams. So another video I wish was still here, but unfortunately lost the time. But then you bring in like the theory crafting stuff that makes this community so much fun. And then you see what Sanji went through there in Zoe, and seeing it from his perspective and getting the answers. And then you cut over to Whole Cake and you see everything he had to go through there. And like I talked about earlier with Wano, you get Ifrit Jambe, and the dude has, bro, he has kicks. The brother has martial arts, man. He's out here kicking, he's cooking, literally, and he's just doing his thing, man. So you have, like I said, you have a combination of a character that I personally resonate with, that has so much of what makes the series super, super cool. But at the same time, you have an awesome moveset with flipping Jobo, man, and different Jambe. And it's like, oh, come on. And episode 1061, I think, puts it together brilliantly, man. With like the breaking of the mask, him looking out, having Zeph and Luffy, going back to his found family, having to choose, right, ultimately, in both situations between himself and his friends. You know, have to make a similar situation as Robin the second time, right? Decided to self-sacrifice in order to protect Luffy and them. And ultimately deciding, you know, screw that, we're going back home. But, and then after all the heartbreak he suffered there, obviously, with like the Pudding stuff, and then still having the kindness to show something back to Pudding, as well as the rest of the family, and everything that was, I flipping love Sanji, man. What an awesome, awesome character. And it's just the perfect combination of two worlds that make any character flourish, but specifically in this series. It's like he's super dope, but then he also has super, just a lot of things that resonate with me personally. So I just rock with Sanji heavy, man. That's my guy. So he's here at number 4. Coming in at number 3, man. How fitting. And that's how many swords my boys got. Raining in from good old Shimotsuki. Bandana Rocket. Oh, the right-hand man. The voice. Voiced by the same individual voices not only just Jin Sakai, but also Hijikata from Gintama. We have the future world's strongest swordsman. The man who's one day gonna bring down Mihawk. The man who I saw on the roof lay a smackdown and have an MVP performance against the Emperors. and then proceeded to have one of the greatest fights in the series against my dog Cake. The man, the myth, the flipping legend, Roro Noah Zoro! Listen, man! Listen to me, son! Now listen. Similar to the previous two entries, a lot of personal stuff here. I think any individual who's ever wanted to improve themselves in any capacity can see the brilliance of Zoro's character, right, on full display. A character who is not only attempting to reach the pinnacle of his craft, and a person who's trying to reach the pinnacle of what you can possibly achieve within the thing that you're attempting to go to, right? He truly represents the beauty of that. But what he also represents is the beauty of loyalty. And the beauty of understanding when you have to set aside what you're going for what's truly important to you. And there's so many moments where that stuff strikes because you know how much the world's strongest thing truly means to you. And so when you get stuff like nothing happened, and you get stuff like whenever he had to bow before Mihawk, it hits different. It hits different because you understand just how much his dream means to him. And so when he's willing to set that to the side for the sake of the flippin' boys, for the sake of the Straw Hats, for the sake of our squad, you're like, man, you understand in that moment just how much this journey has not only changed Zoro, because remember what he said at the beginning of the series, if you ever try to make me, waver my dream, we're gonna throw down. Not this time. Changed man now, man. And it was just so beautiful to see that from arc to arc to arc to arc until it culminated there. But what I love so much about what we've gotten since then is the consistency to Vice Captain Zoro that we saw back in Water 7. Remember back in Water 7, right after Luffy delivered that, or Luffy versus Usopp, when he's like, yo, when everything else is wavering, we can't have our captain wavering. Like that's the burden of a captain. That's what it means to be a captain. Of course, after that, when with the Usopp scene, he's always been the voice of reason, the voice of putting your foot down, right, whenever you need to. And so what I love so much about what we've gotten post time skip is that we're seeing that on full display in almost every single arc. Or something ridiculous with Luffy. We're seeing that full display now in Elbaf. But he will be the one in the situation to either make it catastrophically worse or be the voice of reason at the time. And that's been consistent from Punk Hazard to Dressrosa to Wano, and then now and Egghead and Elbaf. But I think at the absolute core of it, having a character who's striving for the pinnacle, yet also understands that in order to reach that top, and not an understanding that he had right off the bat, throughout the journey with the Straw Hats, to be able to come to that realization is just something that's so incredibly beautiful, because I feel like I can resonate with that, right? Like there's so many things that we want to do by ourselves, but it's a lot of times not possible to do everything ourselves. If only we just have somebody else there with us, right? And so that's one of the things I can't wait to see when Zoro and Mihawk have that final clash, is the representation of the one gigantic blade in Mihawk versus the individual with 3 blades in Zoro, each of which represents a different side of his journey, a different person that he's indebted to, a different thing that he's learned in this entire experience of attempting to be the world's strongest swordsman. But then you put all that to the side, and the brother's just so flippin' raw! I mean, come on, man! Are you kidding me? Dude! Bro, if there's any character that throughout my entire time as a One Piece fan, I have watched more fights of while I'm out in public, it's flipping Zoro fights, man. I remember back in when I was working at that restaurant, when I was working back at Cece's, we used to have the speaker it was a speaker to us. It wasn't an actual speaker, but it was like a little a metallic thing that if you were to put it inside, it would reverberate and cause the sound to reach you, especially with how loud the ovens were there. Dude, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I rewatched Zoro Dressrosa fights. It didn't matter if it was Zoro versus Fujitora, Zoro versus Pika. Dude, I watched those so many times at that job, man. Because the brother is just him. Zoro versus Hody, the little skirmish with Monet, versus Ryuma, versus Mr. One. I mean, bro, I've watched so much because he's just that guy. The entertainment value, it feeds the testosterone, man. It gets you going. And so, on that side, it's like, man, come on. And then, like I said, the dude is just so cool. I can show Zoro to anyone. It's just universal. It's like, yeah, I get it, man. I want to watch One Piece to see what he'll do. I want to watch, and it doesn't matter what it is. I don't know if it's a live action, the 4Kids version, the real version, the manga version, the video games. Zoro will put butts in seats. He moves the needle, brother. He is a needle mover. You know that shirt that Roman Reigns has? The needle mover? Zoro's a needle mover. He moves it, baby. That's a main eventer. That is a main eventer, man. And that's my guy. Always has been, always will be. And especially after Wano. I actually, after Whole Cake Island, I had Sanji over Zoro. And after Wano, bro, seeing this character I've been following for such a prolonged period of time, have the moment at the beginning of 909, right? Or I'm sorry, at the end of 909, the incredible stuff in the middle of that arc with Sanji and Zoro going on and saving Otoko, and then the Zoro and Yasue stuff, especially in the anime. Then you have the stuff on the roof, or even before that, whenever Zoro and X Drake. And then you had the stuff on the roof, bro, where this man had an MVP level performance, unlocking conquerors. And then, like I said, the King fight in the King fight, episode 1062, man, that's one of the best episodes in the series, bro. That episode, I can hear the soundtrack in my head right now for the Dragon Damnation. That is peak fiction, brother. And I mean that wholeheartedly. That is Goat Raw Fire peak to the max. To the max, man. I mean, yo. By far and away, like I said, one of my favorite episodes and fights to watch. It is so good. So good. And you bring Egghead into it. The skirmishes, man. Like, come on. And it's just... Zoro's one of those characters that when I think of, both in terms of as a character that I love just seeing the exploration of certain concepts, or just appreciating like an extremely well-written character that is being utilized very well in a specific arc, can be like, yeah, man, like doing his thing. But when I also think about the Dragon Ball Z fan in me and the Go Raw Fire in me, man, it's like, yo, I don't know what Zoro is that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, he's him, man. He's him. Always has been, dude, and always will be. And so, once again, similar to Robin and Sanji, just a perfect representation of two things that I value so much. And just that personal connection to the character, and also the entertainment value of it, man, because you cannot take that away. And I anytime Zoro's on screen, it's always going to be fun. Whether it's a comedic thing with like Sanji, or getting lost, whatever it is, or if he's in battle, or if it's just a super cool moment, that's my guy, man. That's my guy. And it's like if I were to have a One Piece character and an Ippo character combined in one, you know? Ippo in regards to the characters that are so focused on making themselves better, especially from fight to fight, and they learn so much from fight to fight, while also being extremely quirky and foolish characters, or funny characters. Like foolish, not the right word, but funny characters with their own quirks, but also being just extremely awesome and cool characters. I just rock with Zoro, bro. Like, he's once again just another character I've always rocked with, and I will continue to. The more I go through the series, the more I get a deeper understanding of his character. The more I attempt to go through my own personal journey of working on my craft, the more I appreciate Zoro as a character. And that scene with him bowing before Mihawk truly impacted me, like on a real just understanding reality, understanding life moment. It's a really powerful moment, man. I know I've talked about it before on the channel with this 3D2I thing, but it's just a really powerful moment that's always stuck out to me. Like I said, I of course love Nothing Happened, love so many of his great moments. But that's one that always stuck with me. It might not even be my favorite Zoro moment, but it's definitely one that's always stuck with me. So that's my guy Zoro at number 3, man. Shout out to my boy. Now coming in the top 2, I don't think these have changed from the last one, but y'all already know what it is, man. You know what I'm saying. Coming in number 2 is the character that to me is the heart and soul of this series. Has been from the moment that I first watched it. Obviously, main protagonist aside. But the character that anytime I think back to this story, why I love this series, and why I think it continues to resonate with me as long as it has, it's because it has characters like this. And at number 2, we got my cat burglar, yo. We got my girl. We've got Now You Feel Like number 1, shining bright like everyone, orange hair, don't care, but it's not my boy Ichigo. It's my girl Nami, man. And I'll tell you, it's fascinating with Nami, right? Because like I've said before, I've always loved the Fujiko Mine-esque character. The character that sort of embodies that, not just the thief, right? Like the phantom thief, whether it be my boy Magic Kaito and Detective Conan, or Fujiko Mine there, or like Joker and them from Persona. Those types of characters that represent the just how cool a thief can be, but also the thematic resonance that can come of dealing with a character like that, especially when it's in the hands of a writer who truly understands what the meaning of treasure is, right? What these thieves are actually attempting to do. But then you put that into the hands of a pirate manga, and it truly allows it to excel at the highest level. And so that by itself already had me super intrigued in a character like Nami. But then you add on the element that she does not have all of the crazy superpowers that all the other characters do. So she has to use her mind in a lot of these battles, and that allows her battles to feel extremely engaging. And now, of course, with the Pokemon that she has with Zeus, it's just hilarious. But the battles and the strategy that goes into it is always a really good time. But I just think that from the very beginning of the series, her interactions with the rest of the crew, the way that there was attention there, but also you saw like her heart warm up to these characters, to the individuals that she was now getting used to being around with the rest of the Straw Hats. So when everything pops off in Arlong Park, and you see the flashback, and you see we're not just peeling the layers to her character, we're peeling the layers to One Piece as a whole. We're seeing what this series has to offer through this one single character. And just like that, by the time you finish Arlong Park, you have a good understanding of not just Nami and want her to stay along for the journey forever. You want to stay along the journey forever as well, to see where everything goes from this point forward. Because now we've gotten so used to and love this crew so much that just like Nami, we wanna be their Nakama. We wanna be on that ship and see where this thing goes, right? Because we saw what they were willing to do for her, and now we can't wait to see how that full picture is gonna ride out from here on out. And from that moment onward, what you have is a character who represents, once again, like I was just talking about, what makes this story so special. but also a character that, when placed in any situation, is always the on-screen presence that that always captures my interest the most. Whether it was back in Alabasta or in Skypiea whenever she was up there with NL, or in Water 7 especially, man. I've said this multiple times. I think my favorite Nami scene is the one in Water 7. I believe it's episode 254, 253. When Nami's jumping across the rooftops in order to yell out to Luffy and Zoro to get their butts out of wherever they are, because Robin needs them. That is one of my favorite moments in the entire series, like bar none. That is such a powerful moment. That moment to me hits me harder, and like episode 37 is almost it's sacred, right? That is the episode that got me into One Piece. But the moment that captures Nami's character more than even that one is that when, in the midst of all of that, when Zoro and Luffy are not there and she is the captain at that point in time, who has to take matters into her own hands. And like I said, no powers, not a superhuman like some of the other members of the crew. She says, nah, bro, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, they are gonna hear me. I have had enough. And she yells out for help, and you get to see how she's evolved from as a character, where it took so much for her to say help me originally. Now she willingly screams it for everyone to hear, because Nami's a very strong individual. Barely whispered it the first time, like, yo, Luffy, Tusk, it was really hard to say it. Now, for Nico Robin, I will scream it. Everyone's gonna hear that I need help right now, but I don't care, because I want to save my friend above all that. And it's so beautiful. I love that scene. It is one of my favorite scenes in that entire arc. One of my favorite scenes in the series period. But what I love so much about Nami's character is we have that side, that journey to get to that moment, right? And then in the post time skip, because obviously I love Run Through the Bark with the focus on the weak trio as well, and then with her and the wizard dude in the around the world stuff whenever they got separated, all super cool. But I think what I love so much about her post time skip character as well is the mother mode Nami that we then get into. And I have a really soft spot for characters like a Yoshida Shoyo, who take it upon themselves to attempt to raise the next generation, right? Who attempt to want to instill values and or protect this up and coming generation of individuals who will one day be the ones who are in charge of the land that we reside in. And Nami, because of how Bellemere treated her, now older, decides that she, or not even decides, just a part of who she is. And so what we have is the Fujiko Mine Nami from the first half of the series, and then the segue into a mother Nami who is focused on nurturing and caring for the next generation of individuals. And not out of heroic values, but just because that's who she is. And embracing that wholeheartedly. We have so many phenomenal moments that come of that. And then you have the moments of forgiveness, where she has to bring it upon herself in order to forgive Jinbei and or Hachi, right? And these individuals who had a hand in the, whether it directly or indirectly, in what happened with Arlong. And being able to forgive. And being able to forgive again with the Sanji situation. In an excellent outing over there in Whole Cake Island. And the Luffy will be Pirate King moment in Wano. And it's just, Nami's similar to Pudding is a super cartoony character that I absolutely adore because of that on-screen presence that is always fun to follow. But I think she just also represents what happens when you take a character, a preset character that is used in other stories like this. Like I said, with the Fujiko Mine, Kaito Kid, that thief character that's in so many fantasy stories. Locke from Final Fantasy VI, so many thief characters. But how Oda can Odify it to make something unique and make it his own. And similar to how I believe our Long Park moment in episode 37 sort of represents the peeling back at the layers of the One Piece series itself, Nami feels like the perfect representation of why I love One Piece as a whole, which is Oda's ability to be able to take things that we're familiar with, whether they're fairy tales like the reindeers or Jack and the Beanstalk, or Christmas as a concept, giants, dinosaurs, so many things that we've read about and heard about for so many years and seen in multiple other things, cartoons, all this stuff, and Odifies it. The flipping with Dressrosa with the toys and the Nutcracker and all the way that he takes things that we're also familiar with and Odifies to create something new is represented in Nami's character. So Nami's character is something, if you've been watching movies and or anime or cartoons, you've seen the Nami character before. But I think what makes her so special is how Oda Odified this character to create something brand new and something so incredibly special, and a character that I absolutely adore. And I only love her more with each individual arc because we get to see how the journey has affected her. So much so that in the recent installments in Elbaf, we're seeing how she's like, yo, what in the flying flagnards is everything that I've already gone through, right? We're looking back at Skypiea, and like the original, I don't know if that exists, right? The doubts that originally went in her mind, to going into Elbaf and being like, yeah, I know all this stuff exists, I've already gone through all that nonsense. The adventure is definitely taking its toll on me, right? Like I can't doubt anything anymore. And she truly represents that aspect of it all, the how the adventure affects you, right? Whether it's becoming affectionate to the other members of the crew and warming up to the other members of the crew, to accepting and understanding your role within the crew, right? Not being as strong as everybody else, but being able to work your way around it and do something that only you can do. Amplified by the One Piece fan letter, with a character who looks up to her specifically because of that, right? Not having the superpowers or anything, but just being able to chase a dream that you want to chase, even though you don't have what everybody else has. It's so beautiful. But then you also peel back the layers to her character the same way we peel the layers back to the One Piece series. And then we just Odify a character that we've seen in so many other art forms and so many other stories. And we create something new here to have just someone that I just love, man. Like, Nami represents One Piece to me. Just like my number one. But she truly does. Anytime I think back to the series and why I love it so much, she's always one of the first things I think of. And just, what an amazing, amazing, amazing character. Ultimate comfort character, honestly, as well. I feel the same way when I see Nami that I do when I see Eris. It's just a character that makes me feel like I'm back home just by looking at her. And that in of itself, I think, is more valuable than any possible thing I could ever say. And so, shout out to my girl Nami, coming in here at number 2, man. And if it wasn't obvious already, my number 1. Especially after chapter 1000, is the goat with the coat. It is Mugiwara. It is former 5th Emperor, now one of the 4 Emperors, future King of the Pirates. The man known as Joy Boy, known in some areas as Nika, known in others as Mugiwara. The individual who is now about to go up in Lake Swimmer in the land of the giants, and the king who we followed from episode 1, chapter 1 to now, man. It is his story, and I can't wait to see how it concludes with whatever that dream ends up being. It's my boy. It's the go with the coat, Monkey D. Luffy, man. And similar to the other entries that I just finished talking about, Luffy's a character that I appreciate in both the personal aspect as well as being the rawest dude ever whenever he turns it on, man. When Luffy turns it on, like he did in the last episode against Kizaru, it's like, yo, that's my MC. That is my MC, dog. You know what I'm saying? What I love so much about Luffy is Luffy has like the perfect combination of, even when he's not in ultra raw hype mode, he's just such an entertaining and endearing character. You can't help but love the dude. You can't help but have a smile on your face when you see him. He's truly Joy Boy. But then when he gets into the hat over the eyes moment, you're like, that's my king. You know what I'm saying? But I think one moment that I always think back to in regards to Luffy and why I love his character so much is when Luffy punches the Celestial Dragon. That moment has a lot of different, especially after the Kuma flashback, there's so much value in that moment. I mean, you can put so many different interpretations into, or not interpretations, but so many different reactions into that for how somebody felt while going through that moment. It's perfect from a writing standpoint, it's perfect from a tension building standpoint, it's perfect from what it meant at that point in time, and then for the consequences afterwards. Just a phenomenal moment. But the reason why I love that moment, and the reason why I love that moment and when Luffy declares war on the world government, is that they both represent what his character is. And that is a character who is a man of action, an individual who will think of the consequences later and do what needs to be done now, do what he believes is right now. Even if the consequences later are going to be massive, doesn't change the fact that what I need to do right now is this because it's right. It's the right thing to do and it's important to me. And that's Luffy's character. And I love that so much because sometimes I wish that I could think about things as simple as that. What's the right thing to do right now? That's what I need to do. But sometimes we think so much that we work ourselves out of a chute. We stop ourselves from doing what we need to do because we overthink it. But because Luffy thinks about life in such simple terms, he can just go directly into what he wants to do and live as freely as he can possibly be. And that's why I think Gear 5 is the perfect final form for him. Because he truly is the embodiment of freedom. He's always been the embodiment of freedom. I don't give a flying flagrancy if it was preordained or not. This is who he is. And it's always been that way from beginning to end. The representation of that. And going back to what I said about putting and Nami with the cartoony on-screen presence. After episode 1000, or chapter 1000, episode 1015. After chapter 1000, before that chapter, I was wavering who my favorite character was in One Piece. Even after all the goated Luffy moments, I still wavered. After that chapter, it was undeniable. Favorite character, man. Honestly, probably favorite anime character, just period. Because Luffy's similar to Zoro. And what I was talking about, how when we see how he continues on his journey, it feels like we are also going on that journey and it makes you want to better yourself. When you see what Luffy does in chapter 1000, when you think back to what he did in chapter 1, it's like, dude, my brother made it, man. He is out here. You have that moment of like satisfaction while at the same time understanding what he has to do. Once again, not the two towers that are right there who can wipe out a continent in an instant, in Kaido and Big Mom. No. What's important here? Kinemon that's on the floor. My promise to my friends in here in Wano. And he goes right over to them in one of the rawest moments in the entire series. It's just fucking peak, man. It's peak, bro. And you're being like the Conqueror's coding and the boxing, and it's just like, bro. But then you get to G5. And the thing I've always loved about Luffy's gears is that Luffy's gears and his moveset have always been inspired by things that he thought was cool. right? So like think back to the windmill, and I created that ability thanks to the windmill thing when he created Gear Second, and he copied the Soru from CP9. You know, he's always copied things that he just thought was cool and then made him his own thing. I'm sure that's where that's like a meta thing for Oda. Oda just copies stuff he thinks is cool and just Odifies it, makes it his own. That's what all creatives do. I mean, that's what I do. I'm not gonna put everybody under that umbrella, but that's definitely what I do. I understand where Luffy's coming from there. But then you get Gear 5, and that's the ultimate representation of that. Of taking all these things that Luffy thought was cool and yet maybe was locked behind a hidden wall, right? Of finally being able to break through that, break through his limits, and really get to that point where he can do almost everything that he wants to do, whether it be turning Kizaru into a pizza, or making a baseball bat out of almost nothing from a palm tree, to bringing out those glasses from the afro. He's just able to do cool stuff, man. And it makes the fights that were already so engaging. Because, you know, when I was first going through One Piece, I'd never experienced a series like this before. So I was going at it with the mentality that I'd gone through, you know, the previous couple series that I'd gone through, which was, I just can't wait to see, you know, the fights and how things will go about it in that way. So seeing the different ways and different creative ways that Luffy was able to win each individual fight already had me hooked on the series before I got hooked on its other elements, right? But seeing how Luffy defeated all those early villains was so cool to me. I was like, man, he has so many different moves in his moveset. And let's look at it now. But that also captures what I think is so cool about his character, which is, once again, a character who created his own style, his own voice, based on what he thought was interesting, emulated by someone he looks up to in a Shanks, but also his own way of life and his own way of living. And that's represented through his abilities and who he is. He's not Joy Boy, he's Monkey D. Luffy. And he's telling you what he's here to do. He's here to be king of the pirates and to follow that dream that we still don't know about. But he is a dreamer, man, and he believes that he will be able to accomplish it. And he's gone through so many setbacks. But rubber always bounces back, man. And that scene when he's with Jinbei and he's like, yo, I still have my Nakama. It's a really powerful and personal scene, bro. I'm sure any of us can resonate with that. How much he loved and cares, how much he loves and cares for his family with Sabo and Ace. And of course the Straw Hats. But just seeing this character go on this journey and like I said, it's the best of both worlds, of having a character that I am so creatively inspired by, and just inspired by just from a life standpoint. Want to be like this dude. But he's also the coolest dude ever. When he just goes in and, you know, does things only Luffy can do. It's like, man, how could he not be number one? It's like, it's almost unfair. I mean, the man has like a 100 episode stretch, 100 chapter stretch, where he's with a whole new cast of characters. And that's considered by so many to be the best stretch in the series. The brother was cooking, man. I mean, impelled down to Marineford, Luffy was out there. The fact that I can put out a poll tomorrow and ask, what do you think Luffy... See that? Power going out. Middle of talking about peak. But the fact that you can do that in the middle of... Or I'm sorry, going back to... lost my train of thought there with the power going out. I could put out a poll tomorrow and ask, what do you think is Luffy's best arc? The arc where he was at his best, right? You'd have so many different answers. That to me captures just how cool of a character we have as our main protagonist. I can think back to Drum Island and the emotional intelligence that the character has, but also, once again, the man of action that he is. Such a strong Luffy arc. Think back to Water Serenity's lobby. Think back to Marineford and Impel Down. Think back to Dressrosa, Whole Cake. Oh, man. He listed off all his good qualities, right? With the judge scene. Then Wano, bro, with Gear 5 and the Go with the Goat. And it's like, come on, man. But at the heart of it all, I'll never forget the first time that I found like, ooh, I really rock with this character. And it was back in episode 3 when Kobe and Luffy have that scene there at the end where Luffy forces Kobe to hit him so that Kobe wouldn't, basically, would be able to get out of the situation at hand without too much harm to him, right? With what was happening there with the Marines. And there you see the true emotional intelligence of Luffy, and sort of set him apart really early for me. And then from then on, it's just similar to Nami. Like I was saying, with the character just makes you feel like you're at home. It's a combination of a character that makes me feel like I'm at home, with like the coolest set of abilities and moves. It's always fun to see in combat. A personality that you just know he's always going to be up to something reckless, which just causes for great entertainment, while at the same time giving you some of the most iconic and memorable moments, that some of them that resonate with me on such an extremely personal level, while also being the representation of freedom, representation of chasing after one's dreams in a very pure way, or also a representation of being a man of action regardless of consequences, and then dealing with the consequences afterwards. Right? Actually dealing with them, facing them head on. And just remembering that rubber always bounces back, even if it loses the first time around. I'll always love Luffy's character, man. The true embodiment and representation of freedom. And like I said, even though I loved him before Chapter 1000, after Chapter 1000, and especially after the Gear 5 chapter, it's like my love for this character has reached like untouchable limits. What a phenomenal character, man. I'll always love my dog. That'll always be my boy. And when the day comes that we see the full scope of his journey and it runs full circle and we're able to see how it is at the end, no doubt in my mind, potential favorite character of all time. Because he's already almost there. I just haven't seen the full scope of his journey yet. When we get there, what do we got there? That's that. That's that, man. That's gonna be it. And so, from Punches the Silver Dragon to the scene where he takes out the bell and does the pose, to the declaring war on the WG, to G5, to the Red Rock, seeing Momonosuke, Egghead, Alabasta, Arlong Park, Drum Island, beginning of the series. He just keeps going on and on. Like, it's the king, man. You know what I'm saying? That's my guy. So, those are my top 10 favorite One Piece characters. At some point, I'm sure within this, I maybe stopped being coherent. Maybe I was never coherent to begin with. But I appreciate everybody who was able to follow through until the end. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video goes up without any problems, because now the power went out, right? But I will see y'all. Take care. And please let me know your top 10 favorite One Piece characters in the comment section down below. And anyone that I may have missed that you love. Oh yeah, some honorable mentions. Oh my god. Ace, Sabo, Hancock, Mihawk, Buggy, Croc, Roger, Usopp, some of the Straw Hats, Frankie. So yeah, I'll just limit it to them because now I'm gonna go through the Big News Morgans, Kawamatsu, you know what I'm saying? Katakuri. So I'm sure more will come, but I guess those will be the ones that they just come to mind right now. Obviously, Jinbei, so it was number 11. So yeah, those are characters that I really like. Garp, Kobe. Honestly, I love all of Sword, dude. I really do. I love all of Sword. The Neck Dude. Gotta give him honorable mention to the Neck Dude, the Vice Admiral and Egghead. Shout out to the Neck Dude. Emmett, my guy. Vegapunk. And so many great characters. But yeah, man. Oh, my battery's running low. It's time to cut it. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Please let me know your favorites in the comments down below. And like I said, I hope I was coherent here because, man, I just, once we get going, we can't stop. So I appreciate everybody who's watching. Thank you so much. Take care. One Piece greatness, man. What an awesome series.